Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new around here, my name is Becca. I'm a registered dietitian and I make lots of videos here on my channel about nutrition, health, wellness, non-toxic living, a little bit of motherhood. And in today's video, I'm talking about a topic that I feel like doesn't get touched on enough as women, and that is just how to have a healthy menstrual cycle. I have done a video here on my channel before. I think it was in my Nutrition 101 series, all about just the menstrual cycle, just an overview of it. We are not really, most of us women growing up aren't really taught exactly what happens with our hormones and our bodies during the menstrual cycle, and it's so important to understand it. It's such like a big part of our life, and the menstrual cycle, some people even refer to it as another vital sign. So if something is off and you aren't cycling normally, or maybe you don't even have your period at all, that means there's definitely something up, and there's a little bit of work to be done to get those hormones back in check and to have a healthy cycle. So in this video, I am going to talk about hormones, balancing them, and most importantly, all the things that can throw our hormones out of whack. It's a very kind of fine-tuned cascade, and there are a lot of factors that can easily tip the scales and throw things out of whack. So I'm gonna be talking to you all about how to have your healthiest cycle. Also, I'm sorry if the lighting is a little weird and it's a little echoey in here. This is my first video filmed in our new house and I'm still figuring everything out, so just bear with me. Okay, so the very first thing I want to talk about when it comes to having a healthy cycle, I feel like this isn't something that people think of, but that is using like good quality feminine care products. There are so many choices out there. If you walk into like CVS or Walgreens, I mean, there's an entire aisle. I mean, hello, we all use them. But you guys, the FDA does not regulate those products. The companies that make feminine care products are not required to disclose what is in there, which that is scary, because if there's anything I've learned about my non-toxic journey, it's companies who aren't transparent and keep themselves accountable maybe aren't the most trustworthy companies. They're usually probably cutting corners. I mean, of course, not every company does this, but the majority of the time, unfortunately, they're cutting corners. They're putting chemicals in their products to make them cheaper or much more shelf stable or whatever. And those chemicals end up in our bodies and they can do some serious harm. So for example, a lot of the feminine care, tampons and pads that are out there now, instead of using cotton, they use like rayon, polyester. They're usually dyed or bleached. And a lot of them, which I have a huge problem with, a lot of them are filled with fragrance. You open up the box and you're like hit with a wave of like perfume. It is so important that we are careful about which ones we use, because they are coming in such close proximity with our bodies, and anything that is in there, any kind of chemical that is in there will get absorbed into us, which is really freaky. So I want to talk to you guys about a company that I personally have been using for years. I chose to use this company well before we decided to work together for this video, and that is LOLA. I'm obsessed. I've been a customer of them. Before I had Hayden, I used their products for like, I think at least a year once I discovered them. And then ever since I've gotten my period back, I've been back on my LOLA game. I am so excited to share this company with you guys because first off, it's made by women, which is awesome, but they are super transparent, which is so important. All of their products are made with 100% organic cotton, and that is it. There is nothing else added. There is no fragrance, no weird like materials, no weird chemicals. They're just pure cotton. So LOLA is actually sponsoring this video today, and I am so excited to work with them because it's just an awesome company. Not only is their product like pure and good, but it's just super convenient because they ship everything to your door. So every month I get a little box like this. First off, the box is like so simple and cute. It's not like brightly colored and like crazy marketing. I like that it just looks like simple in my bathroom. So you pick what you need every month, whether it's tampons or pads or liners. You pick and like set whatever you need. It just comes to your door every single month. I was always that person that I like would be lazy about getting like a new box of like tampons or whatever, even though I knew my period was coming, and then it would come and I was unprepared, and I'm like, why did I do this to myself? But that doesn't happen anymore because every month, like clockwork, these just arrive at my door. But you can also cancel it at any time. I obviously canceled it right away when I was pregnant because I didn't need them anymore. And it's just like very flexible, very customizable. There's no like weird gimmicks. They're not gonna like charge you for extra stuff. You get an email right before, like 2 days before your order ships every month, so you know exactly when it's coming, so you have time to cancel it or whatever. Like, they're just a very chill company with a good product that's very transparent, which I love. So like I said, I have been using them. I've been a customer paying for my LOLA subscription myself for a few years now. I'm a big fan. I just love that they're transparent. I love that it's just straight up cotton and nothing else, and I don't have to worry about it. And I love that it's just convenient. Like, it truly is convenient. It just comes right to you. I don't have to think about it. It's on auto. And then if something comes up, I can cancel it, or I can skip a month or whatever, which I have done. And it's a good company, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. If you haven't tried them yet, I know you're going to love them. So I do actually have a coupon code with you guys. If you do want to take advantage, you can get 30% off your first subscription box, which is pretty awesome, with the code Becca Bristow 30. So you'll just go to mylola.com and you can enter that code when you subscribe, and you'll be all set. Okay, next I want to dive more into hormone regulation, what can throw them off, and just kind of touch on all of the things in our lives that can make us have an unhealthy or maybe a not so regular cycle. So before I dive into all of this, I first want to recommend a few books to you guys, because this topic is very complex. It is not cut and dry and straightforward and really a simple topic. There is a lot that's going on. I am going to touch on kind of the major things, but this is going to be more of like a basics video. But if you want more information, if you really want to dive into this topic, first off, it's so rewarding because you get to know your body, and it's just the coolest thing to actually understand what's going on and be able to like heal yourself. Because I don't know about you, but I had major issues with my period and hormones being imbalanced and all that. But anyway, I want to recommend a few books. So the first one is Woman Code. I love that book. It's so informative. There is a decent amount of diet advice, which personally I would recommend taking with a grain of salt. However, it is still really good information. The second one is Taking Charge of Your Fertility. That is an amazing book. I'm going to link all of these down below. Again, super informative, tells you all about your cycle, how it works. It goes a lot into the fertility awareness method. And then the last one I recommend, which I actually haven't read this myself yet, but it's on my list. I just recently heard about it, and it's called The Fifth Vital Sign. And the author of that book, I actually was listening to her on a podcast recently, and she's awesome, so knowledgeable, so I'm super excited to read that book. But if you guys want to dive deeper into this topic more, definitely check out those books, and you will be like a menstrual cycle hormone lady expert. Okay, so the second step to having a really healthy cycle is to actually understand your cycle. Knowing what happens, knowing what hormones surge and dip and when and what's going on with your body and what signs you can look for. All of those things help you get in touch with your cycle, and you can actually see if it's progressing and cycling the way that it should. So the more that you know, the more that you can understand your own body, how it's doing, and like maybe some signs and symptoms it's telling you of things that aren't normal. And then once you know things that aren't normal, you can figure out what's going on and address them. Speaking of address, let's talk about a few things that you can address that's pretty relevant to most women these days that can be throwing your cycle out of whack. So the first thing is addressing your blood sugar. I've done a whole video here on my channel about blood sugar. It's in the Nutrition 101 series. Super informative. And you may be thinking, I don't have diabetes, I don't need to worry about blood sugar, but blood sugar is important for all of us to be aware of. Having steady blood sugar is not only just going to make you feel better, you're going to be more energized, you're going to feel more like yourself, you're going to have less out of control cravings and less out of control feelings, but also mismanaged blood sugar can really do a number on hormones. And I feel like when we're talking about mismanaged blood sugar, the conversation typically goes to the side of managing high blood sugar and not eating super sugary foods or carb-rich foods that are simple carbohydrates that are going to spike your blood sugar and your insulin. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch that blood sugar video. You will understand everything. But also low blood sugar is really important to touch on as well. And us as women, we are so busy. Raise your hand if you've ever like skipped a meal or delayed a meal or a snack, even though you were hungry because you were just like trying to get something done, or you just didn't have access to food right now, and all of those things. So basically what happens is blood sugar that is, rocketing and dipping really fast, or rocketing and dipping really fast, instead of being more of a steady incline and a steady decline, that's what we want. It's basically signals to our body that it's a stressor. It's a stress on our systems. And then in response to that stressor, your body is going to release cortisol, it's going to release adrenaline, and that is what actually throws your hormone balance off. So if you chronically have mismanaged blood sugar where you're not fueling your body in a way that's conducive to steady, stable blood sugar levels, this is really going to affect your hormones. So what I want you guys to do, if you don't understand how to be aware of the foods that are going to affect your blood sugar and eat in a way that's going to blunt any spikes or dips, go watch that blood sugar video. I explain everything there. Okay, the next thing that is important for us women to address, especially myself, I feel like I am preaching to myself in this video, guys, because life has just been crazy lately, but it is important to address your stress levels. In our modern world, you guys, we are so stressed out all of the time. We are overstimulated, we are overproductive, we are go, 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 and what ends up happening is it puts our bodies constantly, or at least very consistently, in this fight or flight response. So this fight or flight response is really supposed to only be used if we are like outrunning a predator. So like back in the olden days, it was like outrunning tigers or bears or whatever. And now it's like, you know, maybe like fighting off an attacker or something like that. These are supposed to be extremely acute, high stress, like life-threatening situations, okay? But we are always in fight or flight mode these days, most people, unless you are super zen and you're meditating all the time and you're really addressing your stress levels and self-care and all of that, you are probably in your like fight or flight mode way too much. So physically, what happens to your body when you're in this mode is you're diverting blood away from your organs and to your muscles. And this is so that you can fuel yourself to like physically outrun a predator. And when you are in this state, you are not able to, your body is not functioning optimally because we are not meant to be in this state for a prolonged period of time. So it really throws a lot of things out of whack. And then hormones specifically, we get a big spike and an increase in cortisol. We have these high cortisol levels, which are actually, cortisol comes from the same glands that make our sex hormones. So when we have this demand constantly and we're always secreting and creating cortisol and pumping that out, creating the sex hormones kind of goes on the back burner. So that is how it physically interrupts or disrupts our menstrual cycle. The next thing to address, and this is such a big one, you guys, is addressing your product usage. And what I mean by products is everything that you're putting on your body. So your skincare, your personal care, like lotion and your hair care and your makeup and your perfume, all of these things that you're putting on your body, all of the products that you're using on a daily basis, so many of them, all of the conventional, pretty much everything you can get at Target, you guys, all the conventional stuff, and I've talked about this before on my channel, but they are all filled with toxic chemicals that disrupt hormones. So more specifically, what I'm talking about is things like phthalates, that's a really big one. Fragrance, which is filled with phthalates, they are considered endocrine disruptors. So many of the chemicals found in the products that we use on a daily basis are literally endocrine disruptors, hormone disruptors. That's like messed up, right? So these different endocrine disrupting chemicals, they interfere with production and transport and metabolism and usage of our hormones. They physically like intercede because they actually mimic our natural hormones. They're very, very similar structurally. So in the body, your body is registering this weird, bizarre chemical that came from your perfume or your Bath and Body Works lotion or your Bath and Body Works candle that you're burning every single day. It's thinking, oh, that's estrogen, even though it's not. And so your body is going to adapt and therefore say, oh, we have all this estrogen around, when it's not. They're called xenoestrogens, and they're compounds that are super similar to estrogen itself, but it's not actually estrogen. So that makes your body either, it's gonna stop making it, or in some cases it may increase the production of estrogen. And that's just one example, but basically they disrupt our normal secretion, production of hormones, and you can end up having an overproduction or an underproduction. It just throws everything out of whack. They can also, these xenoestrogens, these endocrine disrupting chemicals, they can also just straight up block hormones, and they can mess with our hormone receptors, so the things that hormones bind to in order to carry out some specific function that they're designed to carry out. They can block the receptors too. So they are just interfering left and right, and it just kind of wreaks havoc on your whole hormone cascade. So a little bit more about xenoestrogens, which is actually kind of horrifying. So like I said, they have estrogen-like effects And they're super high and very common in conventional toxic products. If you haven't downloaded the Think Dirty app, you guys, or the EWG Healthy Living app, you need to get on it. If you've been avoiding this topic, I've done a lot of videos here on my channel about it. I've even done a whole video on how to slowly, gradually switch all of your life over to non-toxic products. If you still have your head in the sand on this, I'm telling you, it will change your life. Using that stuff messes with your body big time, and especially if you have a menstrual cycle that is out of whack, most women nowadays do, you need to pay attention. But anyway, so these xenoestrogens can be found in tons of products, but also they're found in our environment too, from like industrial chemicals that are ending up in lakes and seas. And because of this, you guys, this is, again, horrifying but interesting. There are so many less male fish in the world than we've had before. And then if you look at men, their sperm counts have literally decreased by half in like 50 years. That is crazy, you guys. And also women, we have like skyrocketing rates of estrogen dependent diseases, for example, endometriosis. I mean, we have like an estrogen, kind of like a crisis on our hands, and it's because of all these toxic chemicals we're being exposed to that we never were before, that are acting like estrogen, and our body is recognizing it as estrogen even though it's not. And I kind of touched on this before, but fragrance is a big one, you guys. Fragrance is filled with phthalates, which have these hormone and endocrine disrupting chemicals in them, these xenoestrogens. And fragrance, you guys, is in everything. Look at the labels in the products that you're using. I'm talking cleaning products for your house, hair care products, skincare products, baby products, every single product that you use, literally, makeup, everything. Look at the label. If it says fragrance or parfum, that is phthalates. That is hormone disrupting chemicals. That is not something you want to be putting on your body. Perfumes, especially, you guys, we're literally just spritzing phthalates all over us, breathing them in, soaking them in through our skin. Oh, I could talk about this forever, you guys, but seriously, look at your products, look at your products, look at your products. Okay, so for me, addressing each of those things, blood sugar control, stress, products, and switching out all of my products, which I know can seem really overwhelming to do. I did it very gradually, anyone can do it. Again, I did a whole video on how to switch, go watch it. But then also making sure I'm using non-chemical filled feminine care products, because guess what, you guys, guess what they put in there? Remember I said fragrance? So you're literally putting, there's hormone disrupting chemicals in the tampons you're putting right up inside your body. It just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, addressing all of those things has helped me in the past regulate my cycle. I also am a big fan of essential oils. There are a few different ones that have like changed the game for me in addition to doing all these other things. Progestins Plus is one I'm obsessed with. Sclerescence is another one, which is, these are blends from Young Living. Dragon Time is another one I love to use around my period. I am all for doing all of the natural stuff possible to, you know, balance your hormones and get your body back in check, because for almost my entire time I had a menstrual cycle up until a couple years ago when I started really taking a look at this, my cycle was all over the place. My hormones were completely out of whack. I did a whole video about, like, I went off birth control where I described everything there. I went into whole detail about my whole journey of balancing out my hormones. But for the longest time, I was just put on birth control because that helped get rid of my horrendous period symptoms. But of course that just slaps a band-aid on it. It doesn't actually fix the problem. So if you really want, if you're in the same boat and you want to have a healthy cycle, I would, you know, really encourage you to look into all of the things that I explained in this video, all the things that you should be addressing, and also look into those books, because having a healthy menstrual cycle really is so life-changing, kind of. I mean, it's such a big part of our lives, and if it's not going correctly, we're just, you know, our bodies aren't working the way that they're designed to, and we're not functioning optimally. So I hope that you guys found this video helpful. I hope that it was informative. Make sure to check out LOLA if you haven't already. Again, I'm gonna leave that, I'll leave a link down below with my discount code so you guys can check it out. Thanks again to LOLA for sponsoring this video. I really hope that you guys can take away something from this video, because this is clearly a topic that I'm very passionate about. But that is all I have for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram so we can hang out on there. But that's it for today. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.